Do a little bit of breathing. As I was just saying to the Zoom group as we just joined, we will, sorry, close my door. We'll continue with putting some of the 5 elements into our breathing practice. We'll start off, as always, just to get the spine mobilized, get the spine energized. Let's start with our feet shoulder width apart. We'll go a little bit more bend in the knees. So you've got almost like a 1/12 of a squat, and we'll start off with some spinal cord breathing. So just nice, light, easy breathing in, expanding the chest, and then squeezing the glutes, tucking the chin. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we expand and open up the spine at the back, just imagine how that is then opening up the rib cage. So as you breathe in, that rib cage lifts and opens and expands. So it's giving the lungs space to expand and breathe in. So we need that elasticity and flexibility in the rib cage to allow the breath in and out. And often in the way we sort of like imagine the body, we think of them as individual parts like lungs, diaphragms, or diaphragm, ribs. But actually all of these are connected together. So as you are moving the diaphragm, that's helping to expand the lungs. As you're moving the ribs, it's helping to expand the lungs. So it makes the breath just easily flow into the body. Maureen's got a breathe balance move on as well. Yeah. Oh no, it's Sally. It's Sally. No, it's Maureen. It's really weird. I was thinking about those t-shirts just this morning. I was like, I must wear my t-shirt more often. Couple more. And then take a rest. And just stand for a moment. It's always nice to have that little bit of space between any of the movements that we do, just to feel, perhaps feel the difference, that length in the spine. Let's do dog wags the tail. So step out. So we've done extension and flexion of the spine. Now we're doing that lateral movement of the spine, lateral flexion. Start off just by shifting the hips. And as you shift the hips, at the minute, the shoulders go with the hips. So we just keep it nice and strong through that spine. Shoulders are keeping with the hips. I'm not doing this. I'm not dropping the hips like this. Shifting the hips, shift, shift. So it's using the ground. Nice and strong through the legs. A little bit of softness in the knees. And then let that spine wave. So keep the power through the hips and the center. And then the spine is just waving on top of the pelvis. And it's almost like work your way up. Think of lower back, lower spine. And then come up to the base of the ribs. Keep lifting tall through the spine, upper back. And I think Gillian said a while back on this, it often feels as if you're catching your breath when you're doing this, but it will do because you're actually, you'd be actually flexing through that upper back. So you'd be flexing the trachea here. So obviously don't overdo it, but it just gets that little bit of movement. And then the head and the neck at the top. Remembering that the neck has got those vertebrae in as well. So it's moving base of the neck up until the base of the skull. This is where we often get a lot of tightness and tension in that upper back and neck. And slow it down. Slow it down. Take a moment, just let the breath settle. Just breathing easy in and out through the nose. Opening up all of the airways. Knocking on the door of life. Softness in the knees. Working again from the ground upwards. And just letting that spine lengthen. So keep tall and strong through the spine. But allow that rotation, that flexibility. Going back, if you were joining the 5 elements last week when we were looking at particularly like the wood element where you need that strength and grounding, but then also that flexibility. So the spine needs to be nice and strong and tall before you get that fluid flow of the rotation. Without hurting yourself or doing anything too extreme, notice if you lean back a little bit. Don't hurt any lower backs or anything like that. But if you lean back, push the hips forward, you don't get that rotation quite as well. And if you lean forwards, or particularly if you lean to one side or lean to the other side, it feels weird. So you want to keep tall and strong through the ground, connecting to the ground. Connecting to the earth's energy, which is gravity. And then lifting tall through the crown. Those opposing forces, those opposing energies, ground, sky. If it feels comfortable for you, with the arm that swings across in front of the body, make a light fist and just tap just underneath the collarbone on the lung points. And here, when you're doing this, because we're really focusing there on lung points and the lung meridian, which is obviously associated with breath, it's quite nice just to take a slow, steady breath in through the nose. And then out. Let go. Don't need to do loads of those. We don't want to end up over breathing or putting ourselves into a stress situation. It's more a releasing, a cleansing and a clearing. So maybe one more breath in. And breath out. Breath out could be through the nose. It might feel as if you want to just breathe out through the nose. Really getting the energy moving in the ribs. Really good for lymphatic drainage. Lots of lymph nodes in this area here. Let's go back down to belly and back. And then just gradually slow it down into water waves. Nice and slow. Feeling the air as it just runs through the fingers. Being aware behind the body and in front. Spiraling the wrists, the arm, the elbows, the shoulders. And take a moment to stand. I think if there's any sort of like minimum warm-up to do before anything, is those 3 movements. And you don't know, I mean, we just spent 10 minutes doing that, but you don't have to spend that long doing it. It could be a couple of each ones, but it really does just get the body awake, gets the blood flowing, gets the lymphatic fluid draining, gets the breath going. So it's a really nice way to warm up for anything. Let's do an opening of the flow, Qigong opening of the flow. So bring your feet together. We'll start with the feet together. And then step out so that we go shoulder width apart. A little bit of bend in the knees. And then the arms just floating up. But when you visualize the arms floating up, visualize that spine wave. So actually it almost like comes from the lower spine, spine extends, and the arms just follow, and the rib cage expands a little bit. So I really want you to get that idea that it's not just an arm movement. There's a big difference from just sort of like lifting the arms up to actually maybe using the ground. So feel the ground, maybe push the heels into the ground a little bit more. Hips glide back a little bit, spine extends, body expands, and then softens. And expands. And softens. One of the Oxygen Advantage coaches had posted a really good visualization of like a jellyfish on Instagram, and that sort of like movement that the jellyfish creates, and that's exactly what you sort of want to feel here, sort of like that expansion, ribs expanding and then softening, and then the breath just flows in. Breath in, so light through the nose. Breath out. I had 2 really funny incidents 2 days on a run, which is really positive. Well, sort of positive. One, I was running and just through the woods, and there was a lady in front of me with her dogs, as there always are. And she picks this stick up, so she doesn't see me, picks this stick up and throws it behind her. And it literally just went right over my head. So if I hadn't been watching, it'd have hit me. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so quiet. I didn't realize you were behind me." So I was like, "Oh, that's quite nice. At least I didn't get hit. And at least I'm not breathing heavy and I'm quiet as I'm running." And then literally the next day, almost like the same thing happened. I was running again through like a narrow path in the wood. And I always say to people if I'm behind them, "Oh, coming up on your right," or whatever. And again, this woman said, "Oh, you're so quiet. I didn't hear you." So it's like, good, it's working. So that's what you want to get, this stillness and softness and quiet breath, no sound. Shoulders are relaxed, elbows are soft. Let's go alternate arms. So same thing, breath in, but alternate arms. Just going at your own pace. Still feel that spine expand, the rib cage expand, but just notice the subtle difference. Maybe you can breathe a little bit more of a focus. Not breathe more, I mean have more of an awareness of the side of the body that you're breathing into. We're not increasing the volume, we're just keeping the breath light and slow. Soft. Just go back to both arms. And remembering on all of these flows, if the breath starts to feel uncomfortable, just breathe easy in and out through the nose. We shouldn't be struggling with the breath. I was having a conversation yesterday about exercise progression. And it's like with the Qigong, you're not seeing the progression necessarily in how many reps can I do or how hard is this movement. The progression is just like, how do you feel after you've done this, after practicing this for a number of times. So all the time we tend to want to see goals and results in a sort of like linear way or counting numbers. But actually, if we just sit back and allow things to happen, you feel it in completely maybe different ways that you didn't expect. So just go into your like subconscious mind and just allow things to happen. A couple more. And then take a rest there. Just bring your feet about hip width just so you can give the lower body a little bit of a rest and just balance. Remembering always that inner smile is quite nice to have. So it relaxes the face, relaxes the eye sockets, relaxes the cheekbones. Step back out. Let's do a bit of soaring crane. Arms floating up again. Shoulders relaxed. The spine expands. So feel that expansion, 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 opening up. And then connect thumb and forefinger. Soften and contract. Let's do the 4 movements with this one. Towards chest, expand. Push away. And then open. Breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Standing a little bit taller. And then softening. Whole body moving really subtly. One continuous movement. As we open up and expand this time, just bring awareness to those long points that we were tapping in the knocking on the door. So just getting that length, and it's sort of like stretching out that lung meridian. And the end of that meridian is in your second finger. So that's stretched through to the second finger, and then that's connected to the thumb. You're bringing energy back into the body. Expand. Soften. As you're breathing out, it's almost like you're concentrating energy into the body as you're breathing out there. And you're breathing in and breathing out. And take a rest. I think as I play with this a little bit more, I think there's really subtle differences with the out breath. So when you're breathing out, maybe in this here where you're really sort of connecting, it's almost like it's squeezing energy into the body. If we do like a cleansing and a clearing, it's clearing energy. So it's like clearing negative energy. So an out breath can be a very concentrated, positive, bringing energy into the body, or positive, right, just get rid of this energy that I don't need. So it's quite a nice way of visualizing that. And as well, particularly when you're maybe doing sports and running, is that every time you breathe out, you don't want to be losing energy. You don't want to be blowing off too much carbon dioxide. So when we concentrate that energy with that nice, slow, easy, steady nasal breathing, but then occasionally when you need to, just blow off that excess energy. So it's quite a nice way. And you can play around with that, the subtleties of that, in these Qigong moves. Let's do Buddha holds up the earth. Again, as I say, we're specifically focusing on breath with these movements today. So a little bit of bend in the knees. Breath in. Breath out. Have an awareness of that lung meridian, or that line again from the points we were tapping in knocking on the door of life to the tip of that first finger. It's quite nice, and you maybe have a little bit of a stretch through the hands here, because you would do if you were holding up a heavy object like the earth. Expanding, softening. Keeping the shoulders relaxed, so using the spine and the breath to expand and open up, rather than lifting with the shoulders, which is what we quite often do when we reach up. So using the back. Using your balance. Breath in, light, soft, easy breathing. And then just bringing the hands together and resting on the lower abdomen, bringing the feet together. And if it's comfortable for you, just closing your eyes or just keeping a soft gaze, whatever you feel is good for you right now. And just letting the body rock and sway. Maybe spiral. And just bringing your attention to the breath and really clear physical sensation in the nostrils, in the nasal cavity. So not changing the way you're breathing at all, just noticing breath in. And now switching your attention to where you've just got your palms just resting on that lower abdomen. Just as the breath flows in, just soften that area a little bit. So just feel a very, very subtle response to that in-breath in this area. And see how much you can soften that area. Notice when you do that, you maybe need to find your balance a little bit more. Maybe you need to have a little bit more strength through the spine. So just notice what happens as you soften in the lower abdomen, as you just let the breath flow in naturally. Just light, steady, easy breathing. And then when you're ready, just take a fuller breath in, opening your eyes as you breathe in. Having a little stretch or a brush down. Again, whatever you feel you need. I could have stood there all morning, actually. Bamboo in the wind for the next hour, please. Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. Just before we go, our challenge in inverted commas for the next month or so, or for the next few weeks. We were having a meeting, Andrew, Elaine and Kevin, sort of like the AIM coaches were having a meeting, talking about various things, talking about heart rate variability, Qigong, all this stuff. And Kevin came up with this idea of the challenge for our reflections. Is Kev here? I don't know if he's here actually. Is he on? He is on, but his camera's not on.
My video's not working.
Oh, his video's not working. Hello, hi. I don't know whether you want to share anything, Kev, or on the challenge.
Yeah. So we were talking about the benefits to mental health. Think about reflections and just stuff that just 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 the uh, just just cut down just even sometimes just just talk about reflections. The thing that I started talking about reflections. Takes a photo, back on doing. And that's my ground in terms of
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think quite often you can think if you're going through a stressful time, you think, oh, I need to start doing my journal and stuff like that. But I think, as you say there, if you just get into the habit of bullet points, I think is really good because sometimes you don't have a long time to sit, or you think it's going to take me half an hour to do this, but you don't need that much time. And actually, the more you set aside 5 minutes or 2 minutes, the more you, 15 minutes later, you're still writing stuff. I getting into that habit. And as Kev said there, it's usually quite good to do it in the evening, just before bed, because it sort of like clears your mind as well. So you're not worrying about stuff overnight. But or what you might want to do is what you could do is after you've done a Qigong session, just sit down if you've got a few minutes and just go what resonated for me in that session. There's always different things, as I'm sure you find when you do this. And this is what I was referring to when someone was saying, well, what's the progression of this exercise? It's like there doesn't need to be a progression in physical movement or reps or anything. It's what that self discovery in inverted commas that you find through that, and that can be physical. It can be like, oh yeah, that hip's a little bit tight, or that shoulder feels a bit different, or it can be, gosh, that just flowed really easily differently today as it did yesterday. So it's quite nice to do that. And I think, as Kev said there, it sort of like came about because Andrew in particular is doing a lot of work on heart rate variability, and we're going to do another lunch and learn on that as well, because I know a few of you want to discuss that a little bit more. And what we're finding is that after doing this Qigong, the heart rate variability has improved so much. And obviously, this is just all anecdotal because it's just what we're doing as a few instructors and a few OA instructors. So there's definitely something in the practice that we're doing in this Qigong in terms of heart rate variability and helping us feel more relaxed and more centered and more grounded. And that's how that came about for that. So we will let you get on. So that's sort of like our challenge today. You can share stuff in the Facebook group if you want to. I know a lot of you don't want to get involved in Facebook. I totally agree with that, or I totally understand that. So that is absolutely fine. And you can share, maybe some of you want to share some of your reflections in there or just pictures. So it's really up to you what you want to do. It's not a competition. As you know, we never have competitive challenges in this. We want to keep them fun and we want them to be enjoyable and beneficial. Yeah, we want you to get something out of it as well. So I'll stop talking now. I talked a lot this morning. Jeez, how many coffees have I? I will let you all go. Have a fantastic day. Thanks, Kevin, for that, for introducing that and having that idea. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'll see you all on Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.